Anime, the legendary hero is dead. In episode 4, the scene begins with a flashback where the king and his advisors discuss their need for the blood of a hero's descendants for the future of the royal family. However, the oldest and second princesses have already been engaged to neighboring kingdoms. The only option left is Marguerite. Little Marguerite is crying because she fell and scraped her knee. Isaac, who is watching over her, tries to comfort her. The king approaches Isaac and wants to talk to him privately. He tells Isaac that he wants to match Marguerite with a hero for the sake of the royal family's interests. Isaac disagrees with the king's proposal because it goes against the late queen's will. The king doesn't care and asks Isaac to educate Marguerite to be a suitable match for a hero. Back to the present time, Tuca and Marguerite are enjoying their date at the festival. Marguerite participates in an apple archery contest that has a prize of a year's supply of apples. She must hit an apple placed on Tuca's head. Marguerite is very skilled at archery and manages to hit the apple without hurting Tuca at all. It turns out that Marguerite participated in the contest because she was hungry, and she ends up eating all the apples. Despite that, Tuca is impressed. In addition to being skilled at painting, the princess is also an expert in archery. Marguerite says that a princess must master it. She has learned etiquette, academics, martial arts, and art since she was a child. All of this is also for the sake of being matched with Cyan. From a distance, Sirwela is following Tuca and Marguerite. He was ordered by Isaac to do so. Although Sirwela feels bothered, he also realizes that Cyan looks like a real bone, not wearing a mask. It is already night, and Marguerite takes Tuca to a secluded place to watch fireworks together. A firework is lit and shoots into the sky, marking the end of the festival. At that moment, many people look for their soulmates under the glitter of the fireworks, to establish a love without looking at physical appearances. Tuca is happy to see the fireworks and says it's the first time he's ever seen them. Marguerite looks confused because didn't they see them together 3 years ago? Tuca pretends to remember seeing the fireworks here 3 years ago. However, they actually saw them on the palace balcony at that time. Tuca panics and is trapped. Marguerite becomes more convinced. She has been suspicious all day because Cyan's speech and behavior are different from 3 years ago. She also does not remember their promises and memories together. Isaac and Sirwela appear behind Marguerite. Tuca is already cornered. When Sirwela approaches Tuca, he realizes that it's necromancer magic. The soul inside is not Cyan, and the real Cyan has already passed away. Marguerite is in shock hearing this. Meanwhile, in the middle of the city, Leland is preparing his plan to turn the residents into bones. Tuca, who was cornered, revealed that Cyan died by falling into a hole. Isaac and Sirwela agreed to sentence Tuca to death. Before the discussion continued, Tuca wanted to apologize to Marguerite first. He regretted hurting her feelings. However, they all realized that Princess was no longer there. Marguerite ran towards the festival in shock. Leland, who saw Princess, approached her. He was worried to see Marguerite looking sad. Leland said he would save her so that she wouldn't be sad anymore. Since childhood, Marguerite has always depended on Leland when she was suffering. Isaac, panicked because Princess disappeared, became even more panicked when there was a report that demons appeared in the middle of the city. Tuca took the opportunity and ran. Not intending to escape, Tuca wanted to bring Marguerite back safely. Leland took Marguerite to a slum area in the capital. Leland remembered Princess's words that she wanted to save the poor. Leland said he would save everyone, including Princess. Unconsciously, Marguerite was surrounded by Leland's subordinates. She showed her true nature in front of Princess. Tuca managed to find Marguerite. He did not expect the head of the orphanage he met earlier to try to capture Princess. When trying to fight Leland's subordinates, Tuca realized that they were only skeletons controlled by necromancer magic. Tuca was overwhelmed fighting them all. Marguerite was confused as to why Tuca tried to save her, even though Tuca had lied to her before. Tuca admitted that he was indeed wrong and very wicked. However, he was not so wicked as to leave a good girl like Marguerite alone. One of Leland's subordinates then beheaded Tuca. Sirwela came and immediately killed all of Leland's subordinates, but Leland had escaped without him realizing it. When he realized that what he had defeated were just skeletons, he thought it was all Tuca's plot. Yuna was still imprisoned in an underground room. The red-headed demon guarding her wanted to go outside. The only one guarding her now was the adventurer who had trapped her and Henri. Yuna had been waiting for this opportunity. The adventurer entered the cell to take Yuna to the city as well. Actually, the adventurer was not obsessed with bones like Leland. He just liked money and seeing other people suffer. Yuna became more convinced to beat him up. She used the magic costume given to her by Henri. Yuna managed to break free from the shackles and hit the adventurer with one blow. Isaac and Serwela were able to meet with Isaac. They didn't believe Tuka when he said that Leland had kidnapped the princess. Tuka convinced them again, saying that he would save the lady princess as a true hero. They infiltrated by pretending that Tuka had captured Isaac and Serwela. Since Tuka's body was just bones, the enemy believed he was Leland's subordinate. They both believed that Leland had kidnapped Marguerite. Isaac blamed himself, saying that he was the one who caused Marguerite to suffer from magic energy depletion and rely on Leland. Isaac trained the lady princess very hard to become worthy of becoming Sion's wife. Marguerite, who was initially weak, never cried again. But due to the stress of the training he gave her, Marguerite experienced a disorder of magic energy. Marguerite didn't dare to confide in Isaac and instead relied on Leland. Isaac was helpless without investigating Leland's background. He felt like a failed teacher. Instead of comforting him, Tuka made things worse by saying that this was 100% Isaac's fault. Still provoking Isaac, suddenly the wall behind Tuka collapsed. It turned out that the wall was destroyed by Yuna, hitting Tuka in the process. After hearing Tuka's explanation, Yuna couldn't believe that Tuka had let the lady princess be kidnapped. Initially, Yuna thought Tuka came here to save her. Isaac still kept thinking that all of this was his fault. The adventurer captured by Yuna was threatened by Serwela to tell the location of the lady princess. The adventurer was more concerned about money than having to die, so he revealed all the information he had. After getting the information, they went to save Henri first. On the other hand, Leland will soon start his ritual to turn everything there into bones. He revealed the reason for his obsession with bones, which was the magic crystal inherited from his family. The magic crystal had the power of X-ray vision. When using it, Leland was confused as to why this world was full of discrimination, even though everyone was the same if their flesh was gone. Plus, he was impressed by seeing Sion save everyone. Leland was motivated to create a world without discrimination and conflict. Tonight's ritual would also be his wedding reception with Marguerite. Marguerite clearly did not want to. Meanwhile, Tuka and the others were preparing to ambush. There were many demons and bone troops in that place. Henri could take control of his bone troops as long as Leland's concentration was disrupted. Tuka swung his holy sword and hit Leland, but his bone arm broke instead. Yuna also hit with magic reinforcement. Marguerite was surprised to see Sion here. Tuka had said that he wouldn't leave the lady princess. He also said to call him by his real name, which was Tuka. Leland tried to command his bone troops, but Henri had taken control. Tuka took Leland's magic crystal that had fallen and used it. In a critical moment like that, Tuka instead tried to peek at the girls' bodies present there. Leland took advantage of that opportunity to escape. The demons from earlier began to attack them. Serwela will deal with the demons here alone, while the others chase Leland. Although they managed to catch up with him, Leland still had magic crystals to perform necromancer magic. He also immediately drank 2 full bottles of Soma drops so that his skeleton army could not be taken over again. Leland chanted strengthening magic and created weapons for his skeleton army. Tuka's and the others' attacks became ineffective. One of the skeleton soldiers tried to attack Marguerite to capture her, but Isaac protected her and slashed the soldier with his sword. Tuka quickly created a wall with a piece of her holy sword. They fled first. The wall had turned back into a piece of the sword. Leland saw a splatter of blood and followed it. The blood was actually Tuka's artificial trick. He used rainbow grapes to create it and splashed it on the winding road. Marguerite was surprised that Tuka had a great idea in such a critical situation. Henri also said that Tuka's strategy exceeded Sion's. Tuka then began to tell his past. Before the gates of hell opened, his father invited Tuka and his mother to search for treasure in the middle of a city burned by the war between the Farum and Erit kingdoms. As a result of that desperate action, his mother died and his father disappeared. Tuka survived alone in the middle of the war for a year until finally arriving at his home. He became an expert in trapping due to his experience. After that, they discussed the next plan before realizing that Leland had been trapped. They wanted to increase Tuka's magic so that he could fight Leland. Unfortunately, they didn't have any Soma drops. Then, Isaac suggested another way to increase magical energy, which was to use Marguerite's body fluids. The sufferer of magical energy depletion causes the body to release magical energy through fluids. These fluids can be sweat, tears, snot, or even urine. The best one is obviously tears, but Marguerite hasn't cried for 10 years. After debating which fluid to use, they chose to use urine. Even Isaac agreed because in terms of quantity, urine was the most abundant. Reluctantly, Marguerite had to do it for the sake of the kingdom's peace. She instructed Tuca to lie down. Yuna also immediately covered Tuca's eye sockets with bones so that he couldn't see. Marguerite then prepared to take off her underwear, and the episode ended there. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss part 5 of this series recap.